PTSD and autism, the way traumatic stress expresses itself in people on the spectrum may be different. This is from 2 years ago. Stigma and vicarious invalidation. Stigma is a complex phenomenon that involves many processes such as stereotyping, ignorance, disregard, cruelty, avoidance, rejection, discrimination, judgment, assumption, and prejudice. For those who experience it, stigma involves emotional pain and dehumanizing invalidation that can undermine their quality of life. Repeated experiences of stigma result in trauma, and trauma can make people armored and defensive. We may become hypervigilant to whatever reminds us of the source of our trauma and easily get triggered by events that remotely remind us of our past traumas. Something we went through long ago may have planted seeds of trauma and internalized shame. Such trauma conditioning can cause confusing distress, and sometimes the most innocent seeming conditions can trigger uncomfortable, high alert arousal and defensiveness for no apparent reason. Trauma of past stigma becomes activated and it may escalate. One becomes defensive. The amygdala is being triggered. The amygdala is part of the limbic system, and one of its main functions is scanning for safety. And nowadays, in our modern society, it is more about psychological safety. And if your nervous system feels threatened, the amygdala will get triggered and you will go into survival mode. Fight, flight. If that isn't possible, then you will freeze. And indeed, life has become very complicated. More and more restrictions. So, of course, one would feel very quickly triggered because psychological safety is no longer given. There are too many restrictions imposed by society. It's suffocating. These dictates from our society, not only do they often result in perfunctory oversimplified solutions, which is left hemisphere dominance, they neglect the most important thing. The client's perspective is not explored. They do not leave feeling understood or validated. In cases involving autism, the person's experience of stigma and the resulting invalidation is often a major component of why they are there. To not receive the validation of being listened to, not given the opportunity to get at the underlying perspective. The autistic person may leave feeling no further ahead. In fact, the professional they were dealing with may have added to their stigma, especially when being judged and your behavior is pointed out as something that should be modified. When behavior is just a symptom of a stress response. I can't say that enough. When you are in survival mode, it's about surviving the situation that is a threat to your nervous system. It's not the behavior that needs to be changed, but the threat needs to be removed. So you are no longer in survival mode. That's completely logical, right? But no, our society always wants to fucking treat the symptom. And that's so backwards, because treating the symptom, treating your behavior, is once again invalidation to you feeling threatened by the situation and being in survival mode.